Almal here, and I'm going to go ahead and break down the contents of this backpack for you, which is loaded for a weekend 2 or 3 or more night backpacking trip in Arizona. Now again, your kit, your pack may be a lot different depending on where you're hiking, what part of the country you're in, and what time of the year it is. Right now, I'm fully converted over to summer here in Arizona. Although it is May and the temperature at night in the high country is still getting down to the 30s, I'm converted over to the summertime setup, and so again, this can just give you a basis idea of what you'll need to take on your backpacking trip. And the pack itself is an Osprey 65 liter, so it's not a super giant pack. You know, I see a lot of people carrying 90 or more liter packs out there for a short trip, and there just isn't any need to carry that much gear. If you really want to enjoy your trip, pack light, and again, you can have that perfect balance between overpacking and not taking enough. And again, I hope to show you just one example of that. Okay folks, Almal here, and I went ahead and emptied out my 65 liter Osprey Atmos backpack onto the table here. And so here you see all of the contents that were in that bag just a minute ago. Okay, they pack very nicely, and there's room for more. This is a fairly lightweight setup. Again, trying to get that perfect balance between weight, comfortability, not doing without something that you need, but also not trying to spend as much money as you possibly can. You know, going with lower end products, and especially in some areas where you can spend a lot of money, like food. So let me get started and go through these products one by one and tell you just a little bit about them and the weight of each item, and then I'll also give you the overall weight of the pack. So the pack itself, again right here, the Osprey 65 liter Atmos, weighs 57 ounces. Now to that, I have a small foam pad just for sitting on the ground, and this is real nice because you can prop it up against a tree or a log or just sit on it. But the green pad weighs 5 ounces. Okay, and I've kind of separated these in categories. Right here I have just a very small day pack that I take. I take this one because I can scrunch it up and pack it down to a very small capacity. And within that day pack, I will put things like lunch and water and a few supplies as I set off once I've established base camp and I set off to do some fishing. Now this little brown day pack here, just to give you an example, this one weighs 9 ounces. Here I have my Eureka Solitaire tent, and this is a bivy style tent. It's a one-person tent. It weighs 47 ounces. Next to that, I've got my Mountain Hardwear sleeping bag. This is a 35-degree synthetic fill bag. Okay, packs down very small. I love that about it. It's 35 degrees, and that weighs 39 ounces. Next to that, I've got my Thermarest self-inflating air mattress. That weighs 21 ounces. Okay, so that's pretty much the sleeping gear. Let's talk about water containers. I carry 2 24-ounce stainless steel water bottles. Okay, normally I like to carry the plain silver versus the painted kind. I have those packed away somewhere else, but they're the same weight, and again they're 24 ounces, and when full, those 2 water bottles right there will weigh 60 ounces. I also take an empty plastic water bottle. If you want to go buy the $10 Nalgene liter bottles, go right ahead. Or if you just want to save one of your Powerade or Gatorade bottles, which is 32 ounces, which is pretty much the same thing as a liter, and take one or two of those. I like to pack one of those empty, just so I have the ability to store additional water. So there's no weight to that. My Katahdin water filter, that's the Hiker Pro model. I've had a lot of good luck with that particular water filter, and it weighs 14.1 ounces. Next, I have my food packs, and I have a separate video out there of how to put together a one-day supply of food. Again, this is not ultralight backpacking food. This is not dehydrated, add boiling water food that costs $6, $7, $8, $9 a meal. This is very simple backpacking food that I put together for one day in each pack. Now you notice I put the date and the year on there so I know how old those puppies are. But both of those together weigh 56 ounces. Alright, I have a small container of vegetable oil and a small container of coffee creamer and sugar mixed together. And respectively, the coffee creamer weighs 1.7 ounces, the vegetable oil 4.7. I have a small mesh bag that has a spork, a small pack towel, a green scrubby pad, and a little tube vial containing some dishwashing liquid. Alright, that little pack weighs 3 ounces. Alright, so not a lot to that. My cook set, right now I'm going with the GSI Pinnacle Soloist. This is a great one-person cook set. Comes with a lid. What I love about it is because it's self-contained. I can stick a few little odds and ends in here, like a expanding pack towel. This is my ultralight Snow Peak stove, and as you can see, I have a fuel container, another spork, some salt, spices, a few pieces of aluminum foil. I can fit all that in the Soloist, and it's self-contained. In the bag itself, it's a very nice little bag. It's kind of rigid. I'll show you here, and you can also use that as a sink because it's waterproof on the inside, or again as another storage container for water. So it's got a lot of uses. Moving along over here, I have a bag. Again, the Pinnacle Soloist cook set weighs 25 ounces. And that's with everything in there, 25 ounces. Fuel and stove. Compression sack. This is an 11-liter REI compression stuff sack. And in that bag right now, I have a warm fleece jacket, a fleece stocking hat. I have a set of rain gear, which is fairly lightweight. And I also have a camp pillow, all within that. Again, compare that to the size of my hand, you can see that packs down very nicely in that compression bag. And that bag right now weighs 36 ounces. Extra clothes and a pack towel. This is a sort of like a chamois, weighs next to nothing when it's dry. I've got an extra pair of pants and an extra shirt inside there. Extra clothes, 15 ounces. A little stuff sack here that contains just a few personal items, some toothpaste, toothbrush, floss, little hand soap sheets that are inside there. A couple little things like that. Again, that doesn't weigh much of anything. That with the toilet paper, 6.3 ounces. Okay. Next we go into the fishing tackle. I've already showed you my waist pack, my fanny pack setup that has the fishing tackle inside of it, and that weighs 29 ounces. Here I have a rod tube. This is a custom-made rod tube that I made, and it has just the fly rod in it right now, nothing else. Weighs 7.4 ounces. The other thing that I take and I included as a fishing tackle is this little net here. I mean, this thing weighs less than an ounce, and it's just a net, an old net that I had, and I cut away from the frame, and I can use this to catch additional food sources out in the wilderness. I can use it to trap crawdads, maybe even small fish, by making a net out of a tree branch to filter through the rim of that. So it doesn't weigh anything. The Stanley gloves there, those things are super light, 2.7 ounces, but I love to have a lightweight pair of gloves when I'm gathering firewood, setting up camp, doing things like that, because the last thing you want to do is really cut up or scuff up your hands if you're going to be outside for a couple days, especially if you're going to be getting wet and you might be in a cold environment. The last thing you want to do is have cuts and abrasions on your hands. So those things are worth their weight. Over here I've got an optional item, and this is a pair of tennis shoes. These are Teva. They're very lightweight, 21 ounces combined. And again, I use those for wading creeks. If I'm hiking into an area where I know I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the creek, in the water, I don't want to boulder hop, I don't want to get my boots wet, I will take these shoes along for 21 ounces. They're well worth the weight of tromping around and not having to wear your boots and worry about getting them wet. 21 ounces there. Next, a little container of sunscreen. That doesn't weigh much of anything, 2.1 ounces. First aid kit, just the basic essentials in this little pouch. You don't need to take a lot. You figure out what you like for first aid, but I think it's safe to say first aid you can go at 4.8 ounces. I've got a couple of knives here. This is a Mora knife. I like it because it's very lightweight and it's a high carbon steel, so it's very easy to sharpen. That particular knife, let's see, that weighs 3.7 ounces. You can see why I like it. I have a little neck knife next to that. That little neck knife weighs 2 ounces. Next to that I have a little Sierra saw. Again, don't use it very often, but it sure is nice to have if you have to fashion some sort of shelter, and it only takes up 1.4 ounces. Parachute cord, I've got 100 feet right there, that's 6 ounces. And then these last items, these all go inside this red bag. Okay, so I've weighed these all together, but what I have is a compass, I have some matches, I have, right here I have some dryer lint, and you've seen before how well dryer lint works to start a fire. That and the fire steel is pretty much what I use to start a fire consistently. I've got some batteries here. I've got 6 batteries that go to my headlamp. I don't store the batteries in the headlamp because it's very easy to turn on in your pack. I don't want the batteries to die, so I take them out. I've got a little container of insect repellent. I've got a small waterproof bag, and I use this to tie up my food at night from a tree because it's just big enough to hold my food. Duct tape, a Gerber multi-tool with some wires used for traps, an emergency blanket, and again a red stuff sack to put all these things in. 15.5 ounces total. If you take all these things and add them together and you put them in that pack right there, again, full water bottles, you're looking at 31 pounds. Okay, so could you eliminate a few things? Yes, you could eliminate the water shoes and drop almost 1.5 pounds with the water shoes there. Consolidate your fishing gear. If you're not fishing at all, you're going to save almost 2 pounds right there with the fishing tackle. And easily, you could pare this down to 25 pounds or less, again, depending on what your needs are. But again, for me, this is what works to have a balance of what I need, what I don't need, travel light, but room to add 1 or 2 more things if you need be. So 31 pounds is a total. Good luck with your next hike.